The Sound Off Podcast. The podcast about broadcast with Matt Kundle. Starts now.
Kat Carter is the radio nerd. She loves radio. A lot. Her social media really says it all. There are retro radios, transistor radios, clock radios, portable stereos, and those devices you used to record the songs off the radio. Kat has worked in Canada's two biggest markets, one of the best small markets, and today is voicing from her studio just before I get my chance to chat with her.
All of our operators are currently assisting other customers. Please stay on the line and one of our representatives will be with you shortly. This call may be monitored for quality assurance.
And with that said, Kat Carter joins me from her home in Toronto. Hey, Kat.
Hey, Matt.
Why did you ever want to get into radio in the first place?
So my family was big into radio growing up. You know, it was always on. We always had CBC on in the background at home, different music stations too. And I just kind of became obsessed with radio at a young age. And I remember my love for radio really kind of punched in when I was like 9-10 years old. I started having sleeping problems at that age. I still do. And what I would do to just kind of not be so lonely at night was listen to the radio. So I'd steal my dad's Sony Walkman, you know, the yellow one, and listen to FM radio at night, like midnight, 1 a.m. type of thing. I would listen to Chum a lot, and I'd say, you know what, one day that's going to be me. I'm going to be on air, and I'm going to help people at night who also have sleeping problems, and I'm going to be there for them so they have somebody to listen to and somebody to connect with at night. So that's kind of how I really got interested in radio in the first place. But it was also high school that kind of got me interested too. My grade 10 teacher, I always think of her because if it wasn't for her, none of this would have happened. She would always choose me to read Shakespeare aloud to the class. I was like, Miss, I hate this. This is so terrible. Like, why are you always picking me? And she said, you're one of the only people in this class who can actually read it out loud. So maybe you should join the announcements club. And I was like, oh, I don't know. It sounds kind of nerdy. It doesn't sound like my thing. Ended up doing it because she kept pushing me to do it. Loved it. Became like my obsession. I was like, I have to find something to do afterwards as my job that is behind a microphone. So I basically was lucky enough to know exactly what I wanted to do out of high school and went to Loyalist College for radio broadcasting. That's in Belleville, Ontario. I had a great time there. It was a great school. And yeah, I ended up getting a job directly out of college, and here we are. That was back in 2009. So yeah, it's been a while. That's how my love started.
And that first job after Loyalist, that was up in Belleville, am I right?
Yes, that's right. So I was working for Mix 97 and CJBQ, Rock 107, those three stations. It was definitely a great experience for sure. You know, I started off in the promotions department because I knew that was going to be my ticket into the station. You know, getting your foot in the door seems to be the hardest part. So once I was able to get my foot in the door, I was quickly able to be on air, and then I was music director as well. And yeah, things kind of just blossomed from there. But it was great kind of starting in a small market. I was able to make my mistakes and learn and make those mistakes in front of a much smaller audience, which was nice. And then all I could go was up from there. So that was nice for me to kind of start small.
What was the experience like going to a smaller town? I don't want to call Belleville a small town because there's a lot of people who live there and it's a great radio market. But when you're going from Toronto to Belleville, you're moving to a small town. So what are those feelings like when like, oh, I'm not in Toronto anymore?
It was definitely different. I kind of knew what to expect. My mom's side of the family lives there. So I did kind of know what to expect, but at the same time, it was still quite different for me. You know, just the quiet at night that I would hear. I was like, oh, what's going on? I don't like all this quiet because I'm used to, you know, being in Toronto and I'm being here by the subway and constantly hearing traffic and noise and people. So adjusting to that was probably one of the biggest things. But otherwise, it was, you know, it was a nice place to live. They got the water there and great market to kind of just start in. So yeah, I'm appreciative of my time in Belleville, and I was happy that it was able to like move me on to Vancouver immediately after that.
How long was it before somebody in Belleville said, we should get you to do the announcements, but now you can do them on the radio?
Yeah. Gosh, it wasn't that long, to be honest. I don't even remember. It was like a few months, and then I was kind of on air, just doing weekend stuff, which I was like super excited for because I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually on air. This is crazy. So yeah, started doing weekends and, filling in for people when needed. And then I did get that full-time midday job as well as being the music director for all 3 stations. So I was quite busy there. It was insane. I was like, this is not okay. I need help.
So I was very happy to move on to Vancouver because all of a sudden I don't have to be MD for 3 different stations. So
my workload definitely went down after I left the small market.
Okay, so you're not going to get a job as an MD unless you have a passion for music.
Yes.
And now I'm thinking back to the young woman who is under the covers at 1 a.m. listening to Chum. Give me some favorite songs.
Oh, gosh. That would have been like late 90s, early 2000s. I love hip hop from that time, especially from the 90s. Oh my God, how do I choose? I love everything, to be honest. I think there's something great in every different genre. So I don't know, it's hard for me to choose, but yeah, hip hop is my favorite. Love some pop, and I'm a big Motown fan. My dad got me into Motown, so I love Motown. Was able to go to the Motown Museum in Detroit recently too, which was incredible. Definitely recommend that. It was just so cool being in that same space as those incredible artists. So yeah, those would probably be the things that I would generally listen to at night.
So now you're moving from the Eastern time zone clear across the country to Vancouver. So now you're far away.
I was only 22 when I moved, and I had moved by myself, and I was like panicking. I had never been out there. I had never been on a plane before. Like, this was so big for me, just such a crazy thing for me to do. And I think back and I'm like, oh, I was so young at that time. How did I do this? But I'm glad I just kind of pushed myself to get out of my comfort zone and take that risk. And it worked out so well. I loved living out west. It was so beautiful. And I took advantage of, the mountains and camping and hiking and just being outdoors and really taking in like the beauty of our country. So just to have that experience, I'm so grateful that I got to go out there, because it just kept leading to bigger and better things after that. So yeah, I love the West Coast. I would absolutely go back there again to live out there. I miss it so much, but it was such a great opportunity to go out there, especially at such a young age, and start my career. And I started off as the assistant music director and on air, and then moved up to music director and middays. So yeah, it was exciting.
Okay, so one of the things that we haven't mentioned about this trip out to Vancouver are the call letters. Is it Z95?
Yeah. CKZZ, Z95.3. So when I got there, it was actually Virgin Radio, Virgin 953. And then 2 years later, we did the whole flip back to Z95.3, which was super cool because that was such a huge station in Vancouver in the 90s. So it was just great to bring that back. And it was crazy how excited people were to bring Zed back into the market. So it was wonderful to be a part of that. And that was kind of my first flip too, just to get that experience of actually flipping a radio station and how much work that takes. Again, I'm super grateful for that, because that's experience that I was able to take with me over to Chum when we kind of did our little flip from Chum FM to Chum 104.5. So that was good to have that experience.
I'm thinking back to that building in Vancouver. I think I paid a visit to it in 2014, which would be like halfway between your time that you spent there. But I guess you got to work with Paul Kaye.
I did, yes. Oh, I loved working with Paul Kaye. We seemed to work very well together, and it was just easy to speak with him and work with him and learn from him and get all the insights
about radio, and he's just so knowledgeable. So yeah, he was a great program director to have, because we did have quite a few out there at that time. There's quite a few coming in and out, but Paul was wonderful, and I know he's doing some really big things now, and he's doing so well. So I'm happy that I know him, and I'm super happy for him too.
And hands-on with talent. So help me out here, because I did not get a chance to do this. But what's it like being in an air check session with Paul?
It's great. It's not like scary at all. You know, some PDs are just terrible and they're just trying to bully you basically. But no, he would take the time to really lay things out. Okay, this is, you know, try this or do this, and lay things out in a very nice way that made it possible to actually grow, because, you know, you were getting decent advice. I remember I had one PD who would just say, do what I do, and never give anybody air checks. So to have Paul K actually take the time with the talent every single week, that was like huge for us. So I loved working with Paul.
You already mentioned that you went back to Toronto to work at Chum. There was a transformation at that point. So tell me about your experience in Chum on Yonge Street. Were you on Yonge Street or Queen Street?
So this is the Queen and John. So in that big building there, which was amazing. First of all, to be able to work in such like a heritage building in Toronto was super, super cool. But that was the moment that I finally got my confidence. It was weird. Like, I felt like I was just living this lie almost, and I wasn't talented enough to be here, and, you know, that kind of thing. But when I got at Chum, I was like, oh, maybe I actually am good at what I do, because Chum isn't going to hire people who are bad at this job. So that finally gave me the confidence I needed. Working at Chum was amazing. I learned so much, especially about music scheduling. It is so cool how they schedule their music, and they take such care with it. And you can tell, it sounds great on the air, you know, Chum is an amazing station. But just the talent there and the people that I was able to learn from, some great program directors there as well. It was definitely a great experience, something great to have on my resume. And I'm just, happy that they hired me. Oh my God, like, it was such an honor for me.
Give me one little piece of the secret sauce of scheduling music. What did you learn about scheduling music at Chum? You just have to tell me just one thing that you learned, because we don't want to spend all day dissecting their entire plan, which is kind of weird. By the way, it's kind of weird because we always think, oh, we don't want to give away like the secret sauce in the plan, yet it airs 24/7. So
exactly. The secret is doing every song by hand at Chum. That's the secret. No auto scheduling. That's the secret. It really made me hate auto scheduling after that, because we were really taking the time to literally do every single song by hand. So that would be the secret over at Chum.
You spoke a little bit about confidence, and that all through your time in Vancouver, you had the voices in your head that said you're not good enough and you shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
At what point did you stop believing yourself, or did you stop talking to yourself like that?
Oh, yeah, it was probably around the Chum days, to be honest, because it's weird. I knew I was doing a good job. I knew I sounded good. I knew I was doing a good job as a music director, but it just, I don't know, there was something that was just kept telling me that, no, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good enough, constantly. And really, like, the only thing that helped was getting that job at Chum. That finally just kind of gave me that confidence.
Yeah, I asked that because there's a lot of people who actually get that and they still don't stop listening to that particular voice.
I know. It's very difficult. And to be honest, that's why I just started doing voiceover work, because this whole time I was like, no, I don't think I'm good enough, blah, blah, blah. And it was my husband who kept telling me, what are you doing? Do you know how good you sound? Like, because I'm always doing, you know, I'm practicing around him and I'm just reading commercials around him, and he hears me every day. He's like, what are you doing? You are killing yourself here. Like, you are really good at this. You can do well at this. And so he kind of pushed me to do it full time, because I was like, oh, I don't know. So I'm super glad he did, because things have been like working out pretty well in this last month, so I can't complain. So I'm always grateful for him
to have him by my side because he kind of pushes me to do stuff that I'm like, oh, I don't know. So pushes me out of my comfort zone, which is what I need sometimes.
In just a moment, more with Kat, including getting underway in voiceover, sharing her mental health struggles on social media, and making the pivot out of radio. There's more on our episode page, including a transcription and how to connect with Kat at soundoffpodcast.com.
Transcription of the Sound Off Podcast is powered by the Podcast Super Friends, 5 podcast producers who get together to discuss podcasting. Sharpen your podcast and creation skills by following the show on the Sound Off Podcast YouTube or Facebook page.
This podcast supports Podcasting 2.0. If you like this show or are getting value from it, hit the boost button now. If you don't have a boost button, you can get one now at newpodcastapps.com.
Why did you leave radio?
My mental health. Simple as that. I went through something pretty messed up when I was a teenager, and I never, ever had the chance to heal from that. I basically just had to go on from the day after it happened, and I never had a chance to really understand what had happened. And for so many years, I just kind of blocked it out of my mind, thinking, I'm okay, I'm fine, until finally me not taking care of my mental health and addressing what had happened started to take a really big hold on me, and my depression got so bad. I've had depression, half my life, anxiety, PTSD as well. So those 3 things just skyrocketed, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I said to myself, you know what? If you don't stop and take a break, you're not going to be here. Simple as that. So I said, my life is more important than a job. So that's why I left the industry, took a step back. I was like, okay, this is good. This is what I need. And it was amazing for me. I've been able to really heal and do the stuff that I should have done, 15 years ago to help with my mental health. So this was very long overdue, and I am feeling amazing again. I feel back to normal, and I've had, so much help from my husband and my family and friends, and I was actually able to share my experience with depression online, and a lot of people resonated with that. And I didn't think that was going to happen. I was so scared to tell people that I had depression. But when I did, wow, I was just so overwhelmed with the support that I got from people, and the amount of other people who said, oh, I have depression too. I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't want to know. So I just wanted to take the stigma away a bit and just let people know this is something that a lot of people go through. It's really hard, very, very difficult. I couldn't even get out of bed for an entire year, leave the house, that kind of thing. It was so bad. I could hardly speak, which was bad for radio. How am I going to do my job, right? So that's why I left the industry. But about 6 months after I left, I started the Radio Nerd because I was like, I need something radio-wise in my life. I got to create something here. So that's how that got started.
I'm so glad that you spoke about that. And I want to thank you, by the way, for being in a complete depression when you turned on Instagram one day. And I can't remember if it was live or you just posted it, but I thought there's incredible bravery to go on and just go, you're looking at somebody who doesn't feel very well right now. And I thought, that's just pure bravery to be able to do that and to go and to say that. And sort of eliminating all that stigma, because, 20 years ago, I went through something very similar where it's I'm not feeling very well. I can't get out of bed and go to work. And, oh, by the way, you're on the air at 2.
Yeah. Those days were so bad when you gotta get out of bed and go to work and be on air and be happy. There were some days I'd just take my headphones off and just lay down on the desk until my next break. Cause I'm like, I can't do this. This is so bad right now. So it's very important that we talk about this stuff. It happens to way more of us than we think. And it's nice to see in the last, 5-10 years that more people are talking about this and opening up about it. It's super important. Everybody has mental health, just like we have physical health, and it's something that we need to take care of. And I'm just saying this off of experience, because before I'd be like, oh, mental health, whatever, I'm fine. But then
when that finally kind of fully happened to me, I was like, oh my God, this is so real, and this could be the end of me. So yeah, I really had to take that time to focus on myself and my health, because if I didn't, I would not be talking to you right now.
I think you mentioned a little bit about your husband who sort of pushed you to try out the voiceover thing, but what sort of caught your eye that said, maybe I should get a microphone and maybe we should be doing some voiceover work and let's see what happens?
I guess it was the fact that I've always wanted to do voiceover full time. This was always kind of a goal of mine as well, but I don't know what it was. Like, I had that push, even though I didn't have the full confidence to jump right into radio, but I just couldn't make that same jump into the voiceover world. So it's great that I'm finally kind of getting over that. It's taken me so many years to just get to this point. And finally I just said, you know what? I just need to do this. Like, what am I doing? I'm just making excuses at this point. I'm holding myself back. So I had to really get rid of those thoughts in my head again, because those are those anxious, depressed thoughts like, oh, what's going to happen now? And I'm always thinking, oh, what bad's going to happen in the future? But I'm trying not to think like that anymore. I'm trying to be way more positive when it comes to the future. So I'm super excited to see, where this year takes me. I don't think I've ever been this excited at the beginning of a year in a very long time. So I am super pleased, and I see big things for myself in the next little while. So I'm just hoping everything works out.
Well, I'm so happy that you're doing the voiceover thing, because I saw you put a couple things up on Instagram, and I know you were just reading, what is fairly rudimentary when it comes to IVR and telephone, but Oh man, that was good. I liked it.
Thank you very much. They just blew up on TikTok too. One has 1.4 million views, and then the other two have almost 250 each, 250,000. So it's very exciting to see how much these videos have blown up. I've always thought, oh, whatever, this isn't exciting to anybody, hearing this stuff, but people seem to really like it. So I've been able to already grow a decent following this month in the last week or two. So it's been incredible. So I'm just hoping that TikTok can continue to grow, and then I can hopefully get some more gigs from there, because yeah, it's growing so much every day in the past week and a half. So it's exciting to see, and it's really cool to see that people actually think what I'm doing is interesting and they like it. So again, that's just me in my mind being oh, you're not good enough. So this has kind of been another confidence booster that I needed. Just seeing, oh my God, look how many people saved this video, or saved it for later, or shared it, or commented on it, or whatever the case is. It's oh, people actually don't hate me.
I can't really explain anything about marketing other than sometimes you look at it and go, that's good. And sometimes people do pieces of marketing all the time and go, that's not very good. But,
yeah.
The pieces that you put up on TikTok, I'm like, that kind of looks and sounds like the person who would be telling me that I need to be on hold, or that I have to wait, or press 1 to speak to an operator or something like that. I don't know. You just seem to have that look.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I get that. And you know what? I think my voice works perfectly for those types of things as well. I've always kind of had that that announcer voice. I don't know what it is, but I can change it up for the phone messages, and I love doing that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. So I'm always looking for more clients.
You'll always be the radio nerd, though, to us. I love some of the things that you post up. I mean, you gave me a little bit of, it's not quite an unboxing, but you gave me a walkthrough on a piece of listening equipment where I could play a CD, but at the same time, there was a spot for my iPhone or my iPod dock. Right. And I'm looking at that going, that feels very 2011.
Oh my God. Wow. You know what? And I love posting those videos. People seem to like them. I just head out to Value Village, take some video, and leave. I never really buy anything. But yeah, it's good for content, and I'm able to share some really cool radios, some stuff that's from the 40s they have there sometimes, and then stuff that they have from 10 years ago. But yeah, I love sharing that stuff. It's fun to see, those vintage pieces and holding them again and touching them and fiddling with the buttons. And yeah, I love sharing that stuff and, you know, going out thrifting. It's fun for me.
Here you are. You're known as the radio nerd. What relationship are you going to have with radio over the next few years?
It's hard to say because while I love radio so much, and I think of it as like my little baby, you know, I know it's not the greatest for my mental health. And I know that I'm going to just stress myself out if I go back into the industry. I know I'm going to have to do like a million jobs. And it's probably not going to be worth it for me at this point. I think because I've almost like set those boundaries for myself. Like, no, I'm not going to, you know, allow myself to be overworked and underpaid and that kind of thing. So being able to work from home for myself, so incredible. So I don't know if I'll go back into radio, maybe like a part-time. I don't know. I don't want to say. I do miss it though. I really, really do miss it.
The correct answer is to image radio stations as their voice talent.
Yes. You know what? That's the perfect way to stay in it. And I don't have to deal with all the drama, the day-to-day station drama and madness and nonsense that goes on, but you can still have that relationship with the station. So yeah, I would absolutely love to get some more stations on as a client. I currently do just one, and it's a alt rock station in Belleville. So do that for them. And yeah, I'm always looking to add more clients to my list and everything, and just kind of grow my voiceover business and just see where things go. It's so exciting. Yeah,
it really is. And just congratulations on all the success, not only that you've had in radio, but I'm really excited for some of the stuff that you've done online, helping people with their mental health, as well as just giving me a little, you know, retro tour of some old radios I might have, you know, used in the past. And as well now with voiceover, as we both record now on Rode mics.
Well, thank you so much. It's just exciting to feel healthy again and feel good and just be ready to get back into things. So that's what I'm most happy about, is having my health again. That's the biggest thing. And I think that's something everybody needs to remember. Your health is more important than your job.
The Sound Off Podcast is written and hosted by Matt Kundle. Produced by Evan Serminski. Social media by Courtney Krebsbach. Another great creation from the Sound Off Media Company. There's always more at soundoffpodcast.com.